The grand conclave of species gathered once every 10 years on the orbital station known as Unity Spire, a floating citadel above the blue-green glow of Calith Prime. It was where ancient rivalries softened under banners of diplomacy. On this particular cycle, rumors rippled across the assembly halls. Humanity, the newest spacefaring race, had been invited to present their culture for the first time. Many species were curious, others deeply skeptical. Humans had spread fast, too fast, and whispers of their strange customs unnerved the old powers. Among the murmurs, a delegation from the Varish Dominion hissed quietly among themselves. Their leader, Counselor Risk, a scaled veteran with golden eyes, coiled his tail in impatience. "They breed like spores," he muttered to his adjutant. "Conquer wilderness worlds no one else dares touch. Yet they speak of peace." His gaze narrowed. "I want to know what they truly are." Across the chamber, the humans prepared their presentation. Ambassador Elias Monroe, tall with a streak of gray at his temples, carried himself with the calm of someone used to skepticism. Around him, his team moved with military precision, setting up hollow tables, trays, and sealed containers. To the other delegates, it seemed odd. What could food, of all things, reveal about humans? Yet Monroe had insisted, culture is not just words, but what we eat together. When the announcement came, silence fell across the hall. The banners dimmed, lights focusing on the humans' long table. Containers hissed open, releasing scents both enticing and alarming. Some species twitched their nostrils, others recoiled. Before them lay dishes spiced and simmered, roasted and seared. Vibrant colors, sizzling sounds, and strange aromas filled the air. It was overwhelming, primal. Delegate Iral of the insectoid Thrin clicked his mandibles nervously. "What is this chaos of smells?" he asked in disbelief. "It bites the senses." Another leaned forward, eyes wide. "Are those flames? You cook with fire?" Whispers of shock spread quickly. Fire was a tool of destruction, yet humans tamed it as casually as one might boil water. Ambassador Monroe raised his hands for calm. "Today," he said, voice smooth, "we bring no weapons, no claims, no demands. We bring only what we share with our families, our friends, and our children. Food, the one truth that binds every culture." His words earned a ripple of cautious approval, but many remained skeptical. The Varish Counselor Risk was not impressed. His tail thudded against the floor as he hissed, "Show us something worth our time, human. What delicacy do you claim reveals your people's strength?" His voice dripped with challenge. To him, humanity's rise had been too quick, too easy. He suspected something savage lurked beneath their smiling masks. Monroe gave a faint smile as though expecting the provocation. He signaled to his team, who wheeled forward a massive covered platter. The hall quieted instantly. The container was enormous, requiring 2 humans to carry, and the smell that seeped from its edges was strong, earthy, and tinged with spice. When they set it upon the table, many delegates leaned back instinctively. With slow ceremony, Monroe lifted the cover. Gasps erupted. Upon the platter lay the roasted head of a creature most in the galaxy considered untouchable. The Rulkar, an apex predator from the death world Scarthus. Its emerald scales shimmered under the lights, teeth gleaming like ivory blades. Its body, reduced to tender cuts and steaming portions, was arranged with dazzling garnishes of herbs and fruits. "Impossible," cried an elder from the Helior Alliance, nearly toppling from his seat. "That beast hunts even warships in the upper stratosphere. Whole fleets avoid its nesting grounds." His voice trembled between awe and terror. The notion that humans had not only hunted but eaten such a nightmare defied reason. The insectoid delegate clattered his mandibles in panic. You consume apex predators? The untouchables?" His antennae twitched frantically. Many species avoided killing their galaxy's great monsters, fearing curses or ruin. To see one roasted like livestock was blasphemy. Monroe's eyes swept the hall, calm but unyielding. On Earth, survival demanded courage. We hunted what hunted us. When the forests birthed beasts larger than our villages, we learned to outthink them, to outlast them, and finally, to eat them. For us, nothing is untouchable. His tone carried neither arrogance nor apology, only fact. Shock turned to murmurs. Some alien faces glared with revulsion, others with deep, fearful respect. Counselor Risk leaned forward, forked tongue flickering. His scales rippled with agitation. "And you claim this makes you civilized?" He spat. This barbarity? Yet even as he sneered, his golden eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. Elias Monroe did not flinch. Civilization, he replied evenly, is not defined by what we refuse to face. It is defined by what we overcome and what we choose to share afterward. He gestured toward the platter. We share this with you today, a symbol of what it means to be human. Several humans stepped forward, carving steaming slices and placing them on small plates. The smell filled the chamber like a living thing, wrapping around senses, both enticing and frightening. Delegates shifted uncomfortably as the humans served them portions of the predator once thought unkillable. Some refused, trembling. Others accepted, trembling just the same. The first to taste was a curious scholar from the Tarini Collective, who gingerly lifted the bite to her beak. A silence fell. She chewed, blinked, and then her feathers puffed out in shock. It is exquisite, she whispered, disbelief dripping from every syllable. How can something so deadly taste so gentle? The hall erupted in conflicting voices. Some shouted sacrilege, others demanded to know how humans accomplished such hunts. The mixture of horror and fascination spread like fire across the conclave. The galaxy's greatest predators, reduced to cuisine by the youngest of species. Ambassador Monroe let the uproar wash over him. He expected this reaction. What he wanted was not just shock, but to plant a seed in every mind present. Humans were not simply another species to catalog. They were unpredictable, dangerous, and above all, unafraid of what others considered untouchable. And as the hall's clamor grew, Monroe caught the gaze of Counselor Risk once more. The Varesh leader's sneer had faded into something colder. He did not shout nor argue. He only stared, his golden eyes narrowed in calculation as though trying to solve the riddle humanity had just presented. It was then the first ripple of unease crept through the chamber. If humans could hunt the galaxy's monsters, what else could they do? And more importantly, who would be next to find out the truth? The conclave hall did not calm easily. Delegates hissed, clattered, and chittered as the scent of the roasted predator lingered in the air. Guards of various species tightened their grips on ceremonial weapons, unsure if chaos was about to erupt. Yet through it all, the humans remained calm, continuing to serve portions with steady, practiced hands, as if they had done this 1,000 times before. Counselor Risk finally rose to his full towering height, tail lashing behind him. His voice, sharp as broken glass, cut through the noise. You expect us to believe this? That humans alone could bring down a rule car? That is a fabrication meant to impress the naive. His words dripped with contempt, though an undercurrent of unease betrayed him. Ambassador Monroe met his stare evenly. Fabrication? Hardly. If you doubt us, Counselor, you may accompany one of our expeditions. Our hunts are not myths. They are necessities. And necessities, he paused deliberately, are what shaped us into what we are. The room went quiet at the challenge embedded in his words. A scholar from the aquatic Calith delegation raised a finned hand. But why? Why would you hunt such terrors when there are easier prey? Why risk annihilation? Her gills fluttered nervously. Her people avoided predators at all costs, building their cities in safe shallows rather than deep oceans. The human logic was alien to her. Monroe's expression softened, though his tone remained firm. Because where we come from, there is no safe prey. On Earth, every niche was filled by something faster, stronger, or deadlier. To survive, we could not run forever. We had to turn hunters into meals. He gestured again to the plated cuts, and in doing so, we made their strength ours. The words rippled like shockwaves. For many species, the idea of consuming predators was beyond taboo. It was spiritual contamination. Yet here were humans claiming it as their foundation. Delegates recoiled, some whispering prayers, others scribbling frantic notes for their governments. For them, humanity was rewriting the natural order. The Thrin delegate clicked his mandibles, voice tight with unease. You do not fear the curse of predators? His antennae quivered. We believe consuming them poisons the soul. Yet you claim it makes you strong? Monroe nodded slowly. We have no such curse. Only the knowledge that fear kills quicker than teeth. By eating what hunts us, we teach ourselves and our children that nothing is invincible. His gaze swept the hall like a blade. Nothing. A silence followed, heavier than before. Counselor Risk narrowed his golden eyes, then sat slowly. But the suspicion in his stare remained. He wasn't convinced. He was plotting. Other delegations, however, leaned toward curiosity. The seed Monroe had planted in Chapter 1 began to sprout here. Fear, fascination, and the dangerous allure of understanding humanity. Suddenly, a younger delegate from the feathered Yaravi rose and called out, "If your people truly eat predators, then tell us, what else lies on your menu? What other monsters have you slain?" His tone carried both awe and horror. He leaned forward eagerly, feathers trembling. The hall hushed, waiting for Monroe's response. The ambassador's faint smile returned. "On Earth we have eaten dire wolves, saber-toothed lions, massive bears that could crush bone with a single swipe. In the oceans we hunted leviathans with nothing but harpoons. Even the skies did not shelter beasts from us. We brought down winged terrors and turned their flesh into sustenance." His voice grew low, deliberate. "There is nothing we will not face if survival demands it." The air thickened. For species that revered apex creatures as gods, hearing them listed as meals was shattering. A Helior elder trembled so violently he dropped his staff. A few species turned away, unable to listen further. But others leaned in, their eyes gleaming, hungry to know more. One particularly dangerous realization spread among the delegates. Humanity was not only fearless but adaptable. If they could turn predators into food, what could they do with enemy civilizations? Would they learn their strengths, consume them metaphorically or literally, until nothing could challenge them? Counselor Risk hissed low, but his voice carried across the chamber. "And what happens when you run out of monsters, human? When your belly's hunger and your kind seeks new prey?" He curled his claws against the table, eyes sharp. "Will you turn on your neighbors next?" His accusation sent murmurs rolling like thunder. Monroe did not react with anger. He merely placed a hand on the platter, fingers resting on the roasted scales of the slain beast. "You fear we will eat you," he said softly, yet the words cut like knives. "But consider this, if we wished it, would you even know until it was too late?" Gasps rippled through the hall. The statement was not a threat, but the suggestion was enough to turn spines cold. Humanity was not boasting of cruelty, but of capability. It was a demonstration that they could do the impossible, and if forced, they would again. The insectoid Thrin let out a trembling chitter. This changes everything." He turned toward his peers, mandibles clattering nervously. "If humans can fell what we cannot, perhaps alliances must shift." Others hissed in protest, furious at the idea. The conclave had never been so divided. Monroe watched calmly, though his heart pounded beneath his composed exterior. He knew this performance was dangerous. Awe and fear were twin blades. Wielded poorly, they cut the wielder first. Yet humanity had chosen this path to shock the galaxy into respecting them. There was no turning back. Counselor Risk leaned back in his seat, scales rippling with unease. His tail thudded once, a predator's warning. But his eyes betrayed a different truth, a flicker of genuine fear. For the first time, the Varish leader wondered if perhaps the humans were not prey pretending to be predators, but predators who had learned to wear the mask of prey until the right moment. As the hall slowly dissolved into arguments and whispers, Monroe whispered to his adjutant without looking away from Risk. "They've seen the truth now. Whether they accept it or not, the galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again." And from the far edges of the hall, some delegates began recording messages for their governments, warnings perhaps, or invitations. For whether they liked it or not, every species now faced the same haunting question. If humans could eat monsters, what else were they capable of? The conclave broke into heated chaos after the humans' presentation. Some stormed from the hall in protest, wings flaring or tails thrashing in fury. Others remained, drawn like moths to flame, desperate to learn more about this young, terrifying species. Guards from half a dozen worlds positioned themselves tensely, weapons half raised, uncertain whether the gathering would end in blood. Through it all, the humans sat calmly, eating from their own dishes as if it were nothing more than a family dinner. Counselor Risk did not leave. He sat coiled, silent, golden eyes fixed on Ambassador Monroe. His mind raced. For generations, the Varesh had prided themselves on being apex hunters. They had crushed weaker species under claw and fang, spreading their dominion through fear. But what if humans were telling the truth? What if they had slain something even Varesh warriors dared not face? His pride warred with the cold whisper of doubt. Monroe, sensing the weight of that silence, leaned forward. You doubt still, he said softly, almost privately, though the hall could hear. Perhaps you wish proof beyond words and taste? His tone was not mocking, but inviting, as if offering a chance to settle an argument in the most direct way possible. Risk's tail lashed the floor. Your words are smoke. Show me the fire. Show me how your kind hunts what the galaxy fears. The challenge rolled through the air like thunder. The hall fell silent once more. It was a dangerous request, but one that thrilled the more curious delegates. Proof, they whispered. Proof of humanity's claims. Monroe inclined his head. Very well. If you demand demonstration, you will have it. Tomorrow at dawn, join us aboard our vessel. We will take you to the world called Scarthus, where the Rulkar roam. You may witness our hunt with your own eyes. He spoke with measured calm, though his team exchanged uneasy glances. This was bold, too bold, but it was exactly the kind of gamble humanity thrived upon. Gasps rippled among the delegations. The Helior elder shook his staff violently. Blasphemy. To set foot on Scarthus is to invite death itself. Others hissed their agreement. But despite their protests, a hunger grew behind many eyes. The chance to witness humans confront the unconquerable was too irresistible to ignore. Risk's golden eyes gleamed. Then I will come, and if you fail, human, the galaxy will see your lies burned away. His voice carried sharp satisfaction. He believed the humans would be torn apart, proving them nothing more than reckless prey pretending to be predators. And yet, somewhere deep inside, fear coiled. When the conclave finally adjourned, the station's corridors buzzed with speculation. Messages pulsed through secure channels to governments across the galaxy. Some demanded fleets be prepared. Others demanded alliances be considered. And amid it all, humanity's reputation grew, dangerous, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. That night, aboard the human ship Resolute, Monroe met with his team in the briefing chamber. The crew was experienced, hardened veterans of hunts on Earth and beyond. But even they shifted uneasily at the thought of demonstrating before alien eyes. We'll need a flawless operation, Monroe told them. This is not just about the hunt. It's about perception. One mistake and they'll see us as reckless animals. But if we succeed, he let the silence finish the thought. Commander Aisha Darnell, second in command, leaned forward. Then the galaxy will understand we are not to be dismissed. Her eyes burned with fierce resolve. We've done worse on Earth, we'll do it again here. She clenched her fists. Let them see. The others nodded grimly. There was no turning back now. At dawn, the Varish counselor and a select group of delegates boarded the Resolute. Security drones followed, recording every detail. The ship descended through Scarthus' turbulent atmosphere, clouds boiling red with storms. Below, jagged mountain ranges clawed at the sky, and forests the size of continents sprawled in shadow. The world radiated danger, a place where survival itself was defiance. As the ship cut through the clouds, a piercing roar shook the air. Even from orbit, the predators made their presence known. Delegates shuddered, some gripping railings with shaking hands. Risk, however, leaned forward, hunger gleaming in his gaze. If the humans could not deliver proof here, their lives would be carved open by the planet itself. The Resolute touched down near a canyon rim, where seismic scanners had detected movement. The humans disembarked first, clad in lightweight armor, carrying tools that looked too small for the task. No heavy artillery, no mechs, no orbital bombardments. Just simple weapons, blades, rifles, and nets reinforced with glowing lines of energy. The aliens muttered in disbelief. Surely such tools could not bring down a Rulkar. Risk sneered. Your arrogance will be your death, human. But Monroe only smiled faintly. Perhaps. Or perhaps you will learn something today. He motioned for the group to follow at a safe distance. The hunt was about to begin. They had not gone far before the earth trembled. A guttural roar split the canyon, shaking stones loose from cliffs. Delegates froze in terror. From the shadows emerged the Rulkar, larger than shuttles, scales gleaming emerald and bronze, eyes burning with primal fury. Its maw opened, teeth like swords glistening with venom. Even Risk recoiled, his pride cracking beneath instinctive fear. The humans moved without hesitation. Darnell barked commands, teams fanning out, nets crackling as they positioned themselves. One human whistled, drawing the beast's attention while another triggered sonic emitters that rattled its senses. The predator lunged, but the humans scattered with disciplined precision, every movement rehearsed. It was not brute strength that guided them, but coordination. The delegates watched in stunned silence. The Rulkar's tail smashed boulders, its jaws snapped trees like twigs. Yet the humans adapted with each strike, anticipating, countering, pressing closer with patience. Their weapons bled the monster slowly, cutting tendon, weakening limb. It was a dance of death, and the humans led every step. At last, Monroe himself stepped forward, rifle steady, eyes locked on the beast's skull. He waited, calm amid chaos, until the monster reared back with a final roar. Then, with precise timing, he fired. The shot struck deep, and the Rulkar staggered. At that moment, the nets activated, glowing lines constricting as the humans pulled. The beast collapsed, pinned and bleeding, its roars fading into silence. The canyon trembled as the predator fell still. Dust settled. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the humans approached, blades flashing as they began the butchery. To them, this was not a triumph, it was routine. Flesh was carved, stored, prepared for the feast. Delegates stared in disbelief. Risk's mouth hung open, silent for once. He had come expecting to watch humans die. Instead, he watched them conquer what his people had always feared. His pride bled into something darker, realization. The humans were not liars. They were worse. They were truth incarnate. One by one, the alien delegates turned toward Monroe, their fear mingling with awe. And Monroe, wiping blood from his hands, met their eyes steadily. "This," he said, voice carrying across the canyon, "is what it means to be human. We eat what others fear. And fear, my friends, is the only predator that has never hunted us successfully." The silence that followed was heavier than any roar. For in that moment, every alien present understood that humanity was not merely another species in the galaxy. They were something new, something dangerous, something inevitable. And Counselor Risk, though he hid it well, felt the first crack of terror deep in his bones. The carcass of the fallen Rulkar steamed in the dawn light, its blood seeping into the cracked earth. The humans worked with brisk efficiency, carving sections, sealing cuts into stasis containers, and setting aside portions for immediate cooking. Smoke soon drifted into the canyon air, carrying the scent of fire, spice, and sizzling meat. For the aliens who remained, it was the smell of sacrilege. For humanity, it was the smell of survival. Delegates gathered at a cautious distance, torn between revulsion and fascination. The insectoid Thrin twitched their antennae wildly, torn between instinct to flee and the urge to witness history. The aquatic Calith delegate wrapped her gills, trembling as the aroma burned her senses. Even the feathered Iravi, who revered their sky hunters as divine, could not turn away. Humanity was dismantling a god and turning it into dinner. Risk stood at the front of the alien witnesses, his scales shimmering with agitation. Pride battled with shock in his veins. He had believed this demonstration would expose human arrogance. Instead, it exposed Varesh inferiority. His ancestors had sworn never to face the Rulkar, yet these soft-skinned bipeds felled one as though it were merely another hunt. His tail lashed against stone, betraying emotions he wished hidden. Ambassador Monroe wiped sweat from his brow as he approached the fire pit where Commander Darnell tended cuts of the predator's flesh. He did not smile nor boast. He simply gestured to the sizzling meat and spoke with steady calm. "You wanted proof, here it is. We do not claim divinity, only survival. We kill because we must, and in killing we learn. In eating we grow stronger." The words carried a weight heavier than weapons. Some delegates whispered of madness, others of blasphemy. Yet none could deny the evidence before their eyes. The humans had done what no one else dared. And now, they intended to eat it. The act itself was the proof. Darnell sliced a portion and offered it to Monroe. He accepted without hesitation, biting into the meat. The canyon fell into stunned silence at the sight. Monroe chewed deliberately, his expression calm, his body unshaken by venom or fear. After swallowing, he turned and gestured toward the delegates. "Will you share in this meal, or will you let fear control you?" A long moment passed. Then, to everyone's shock, the feathered Iravi delegate stepped forward. His hands shook, but his eyes were wide with determination. He accepted a sliver of the roasted flesh and raised it to his beak. Gasps echoed as he chewed, feathers bristling in shock. It does not burn the soul," he whispered, awed. "It tastes of smoke and life itself. That broke the dam." Curiosity overcame fear. The Calith delegate took a portion, then the insectoid Thrin, then others. Not all participated, but enough to send ripples of astonishment through the crowd. The galaxy's taboos were unraveling one bite at a time. Humanity had not only slain the predator, they had shared it, inviting others to share in their defiance of fear. Risk refused. He crossed his arms, fangs bared, golden eyes fixed on Monroe. "You corrupt them," he hissed. "You twist the weak into believing strength is found in desecration. But strength is not in the belly. It is in the will." His words rang with venom, but even he knew how hollow they sounded against the crackle of the fire. Monroe met his glare evenly. "You mistake us, counselor. This is not desecration. It is liberation. Every child born on Earth grows up knowing monsters stalk the dark. We do not worship them. We do not flee them. We face them, kill them, and eat them. That is how we tell our children. Fear is not eternal." His words cut deeper than any blade. The canyon was silent again. Only the fire crackled and the meat sizzled. The aliens who had tasted shifted uneasily, some glancing at their hands or beaks as though realizing their lives had just changed. They had tasted the forbidden and survived, perhaps even thrived. The taboo had been broken, and once broken, it could never be rebuilt the same way. Risk hissed low, his pride collapsing inward. He realized the truth that terrified him most. Humans were not lying. They were not pretending. They were exactly what they claimed to be. Predators of predators, a species defined by defiance. The Varesh had ruled through fear, but humanity had learned to consume fear itself. Monroe did not press the point further. He simply turned back to his people, helping carve more portions, distributing them as if this were nothing unusual. And to the humans it wasn't. This was not spectacle, not ritual. It was life as they knew it. That, more than anything, unsettled the aliens most. By the time the sun dipped toward the horizon, the carcass was half gone. Delegates whispered in clusters, some already drafting proposals for their governments. The humans had shown more than strength. They had shown a worldview where fear was powerless. To some species it was terrifying, to others intoxicating. When the group returned to the conclave station the next day, the atmosphere had shifted. No one looked at the humans as curiosities anymore. They looked at them as a force, a species that could not be ignored. Respect and fear walked hand in hand, carried in every whispered report sent across the galaxy. Risk gave his final glare before departing the station. "You have set fire to the galaxy, human," he hissed. And fire does not discriminate. It burns friend and foe alike. His words were meant as a curse, but they carried an unintended truth. Humanity's example would ignite change far beyond the humans' control. Monroe inclined his head slightly. "Perhaps, but sometimes fire is needed to clear the rot." He turned away without waiting for a response. The Varesh leader left, tail lashing furiously, his pride fractured but his fear very real. Humanity had forced him to imagine a galaxy where predators were no longer untouchable. In the days that followed, debates raged across the galaxy. Some called humanity dangerous savages. Others whispered they might be saviors, capable of facing monsters no one else dared confront. Trade envoys began reaching out carefully, while military strategists revised their threat assessments. In every council chamber, one truth echoed. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. On the Resolute, Monroe stood in the observation deck, staring at the stars. Commander Darnell joined him quietly, folding her arms. "You realize we've started something we can't control," she said. "They'll fear us. They'll envy us. Some will hate us. Some will worship us, but none will ignore us." Monroe nodded slowly. That was always the point. Fear kept them safe from their monsters. We showed them fear can be hunted, killed, and consumed. Now they must decide what to do with that truth. He turned, his eyes reflecting starlight. "But whatever they choose, they'll never forget what we are." Darnell smirked faintly. "Predators." Monroe's lips curved into a shadow of a smile. "No, survivors. And in the end, survivors always write the last chapter." The ship drifted onward, stars gleaming like scattered embers. Somewhere across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire, carrying a question that would haunt the future of every species. If humans eat monsters, then what could possibly be left to frighten them? And the stars themselves seemed to shiver at the answer.